In today's episode of Burnout Banter, we're going to dive deep into the captivating realm of the New Year's excitement, explore the surge of motivation that accompanies fresh beginnings, and the common journey that a lot of us face as we go from spark to setback. Join us as we unravel the psychology behind the universal eagerness to set resolutions, make plans, and embrace change as the calendar turns. From the initial bursts of enthusiasm to the inevitable challenges that may lead to fading motivation, we'll try to help you better navigate the intricacies of this annual cycle. We'll talk about how you can sustain momentum, overcome obstacles, and find renewed inspiration when the initial excitement begins to wane. Whether you're someone who sets resolutions each year or a skeptic of the New Year fervor, this episode provides a candid exploration of the emotional journey tied to fresh starts. Hi, everybody. My name's Jeff.
And I'm Rochelle.
And this
is Burnout Banter.
Before we jump into today's podcast, remember to subscribe to the podcast on Spotify, Amazon, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you listen so that you can stay up to date with the latest banter. Happy New Year,
Happy
Rochelle.
New Year.
Excited to be starting season 2?
I am. I'm really excited to talk about burnout this year because I'm taking an interesting twist on it, I think. And I think we're going to have some really interesting conversations about burnout that are new and fresh without giving too much away to listeners in episode 1. Did you go ahead? I was going to ask if you had set your resolutions yet.
Yeah, I'm not really a resolution person.
I didn't think so. I'm not really either. I have kind of scaled back to, this is probably not good, but scaled back to like general goals for myself. Like I want to make healthier choices. That gives me room to, I can go to the gym or I can pick up better food. But my theme for this year is just to choose passion. Like I want to do things that I love. That is the only resolution I've made.
Yeah, I like that. Mine, I much like you, I like sort of an intention for the year. So mine was to grind.
Grind?
To grind, yeah. I feel like last year I didn't really grind.
I'm the opposite. I feel like that's all I did last year and I need a break.
And I did, a couple things like I want to get back into meditation and, kind of go about my day in a little bit of a different way than I have in last year. But I did really well for the first day of the year, and I did not so well the second day, and I did pretty good the third day, and we'll see how the fourth day goes. So,
well, good luck to you on that. That sounds exhausting to me, but I feel like you'll do it intentionally and in alignment. So maybe you'll have better success with it. And
I think a lot of it, just being a little more focused, right? And trying to accomplish some of the things that I wanted to accomplish or have wanted to accomplish for a little while. So
I like it. Grind. I think it's just the word grind specific. Like focus, I get.
It's an intense word.
Grind is the tough one for me.
Yep, I get it. Yeah, but I think, I even, taking a nap is a healthy decision. So I think I like it.
Napping is high on my priority list. I have a friend who moved to Amsterdam and she found this cool app that tracks how much you nap throughout the year. Oh. I don't know why her moving to Amsterdam is relevant, but she has like been on this super health and promotion of her well-being kick, and that's come out of it since this move. So I'm going to find this napping app and start tracking my naps.
I like that. Yeah. I'm a big proponent of like a 30 to 45-minute nap during the day.
Agreed. I've started tacking that onto my lunch. So I have no shame about the 2-hour lunch now because I need the power. I need to recharge. I start my day at like 6 o'clock in the morning. So by the time I get to noon, I am toast without a nap.
Yeah.
I think that's okay.
I agree. So what do you think? Obviously the new year, it's fresh start. What do you think creates so much excitement around this time of year?
I feel like it's a cultural thing. Everybody starts queuing up in December, like, all right, I just have to get through the end of the year. And then I have this, like, I get my time off and I get this fresh start. And you get bombarded by advertisements for everything. New year, new you. And so it's just kind of ingrained in us that this is the time to start fresh. It's weird to think about it in like June, but January is the new year, new you marketing. So I think that's why we start to like get excited about it. And we also kind of have this like little mini reset, right? You get that time off, you get to check out, go do your holiday thing, and you come back refreshed, I hope.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, as much as, we did the podcast in October talking about, the end of the year and how hectic it can be. This year was particularly hectic, I feel like. It's very intense 4 weeks between Thanksgiving and December from a work perspective. And so I also feel like at some point we like need a shift in our mind or a break, right? Like, okay, I can do this for 4 weeks, but I can't keep doing it. And so things have got to change.
Exactly.
And I don't know if the last month of the year is so bad that we all feel like we need that change.
I think it is, but I think it's also caused by, it's like cyclical, right? It's caused by the break because we're all trying to get everything we can done. And then we've done so much that we need the break, and then we need to refresh things and not do that over again.
Yeah.
It's a vicious cycle.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, at end of the year, right, we reflect back on what we accomplished in the past year and, how we went about it. And in some ways we're looking to make change to that, or there's an opportunity to make changes to that. And so I think you're right. We are somewhat brainwashed as to what the end of the year means.
As a marketer, I've contributed to it. So sorry, not sorry, but it's a nice time for self-reflection too. I think we talk about this a lot on the podcast, but we spend a lot of time looking back on what went wrong and what we could do better. And I think that is just what we do as human beings. And so this time of year is a good time for us to think that and then be positive about it. Like, okay, this didn't go well. What can I do in the coming year to make it better?
Yeah.
So it's kind of a good thing.
Yeah, it is interesting though, how we just pick like this totally random, the calendar turns and it's a new year and it's really not any different than any other day.
Again, we should set resolutions in like June.
Yeah.
Halfway through the year, right? See how that goes.
It is my least favorite time of the year at the gym.
Oh,
because it gets very busy. And then
I won't go into the studio in January because of all the new people who are like, I'm going to try a new hobby and I'm going to get fit. I wait until at least February and then I go back.
Yeah. So did you make resolutions at some point, or has that shifted for you?
I used to. And then I started noticing that the same ones were on my list every year. And it was really discouraging. And I was making progress towards some of them. Like, I want to be able to do a pull-up, and I can't do a pull-up, and I've never been able to do a pull-up, but I'm working really hard on that like upper body strength, but not hitting that goal was making it feel like I hadn't made progress. That's when I like scrapped resolutions.
Yeah.
So it took me a while. And also I was just starting to I would have like a laundry list of 20 of them, and I'd get to like February. I wouldn't get that far. And like, I'd already given up on 15 of them. Like, I'm done. I haven't made any progress. This is pointless.
Yeah.
Did you used to do resolutions, or have you always been?
Quite a bit. I'm very task and goal oriented. So yeah, I used to. And I think really getting into this fearless living work helped me shift my perspective on the end of the year and the new year and goal setting and resolutions and that type of stuff.
In a healthy way.
In a healthy way. I think so. Even though I chose the word grind.
I won't comment. I won't bash on your word for the year. Because if anybody's going to do it in the right way, I think you are. But
yeah, so
do we think this is a common problem for people tossing their resolutions out the window?
It's a very common problem. It's such a common problem that I think probably more people have given up on them than maybe even still do them. I don't know.
I used to work in a Pilates studio. I still actually teach Pilates, but I would help with the New Year, New You campaigns, which is how I contributed to those. It was always really interesting to me to see like how many people signed up for those and then never ever showed up to class. Like they would buy a 12 class pack, that's 3 months worth of classes, and just never appear. Literally never saw these people. How do you give up that fast? How do you not even come to the first class?
It's hard. It's hard to make change, I think. But it is, yeah. Yeah, I mean, even with the coaching business, there is like an uptick around this time of year. Because I think people are looking to implement significant change and, whether we decide to do it on our own or we seek out help, it's still hard.
But the accountability. I feel like if you're seeking a coach, then you're a little bit more serious, I hope.
Yeah, some people.
About.
I think so. Yeah, but I was looking at some statistics and it said only 9% of people who set a resolution ever complete them.
Oh.
So we don't have a very good track record. We're not alone in the fact that you couldn't do your pull up or
I will get there. But it's no longer like I have to do it in a year.
Yeah.
So, oh, that's so sad. 9%, but also good for those people.
Yeah.
Those 9% of people.
Yeah. And 23%, going back to your, how do you not even show up to the first class? 23% quit after the first week.
Well,
so if that class isn't in the first week, they're in trouble.
Maybe that was the problem because we would market it the first week. So everybody's got the healthy idea in their head, but by the time they get to the second week, they're like, no, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah. And 43% are done by the end of January, which goes to our theory of when to go back to the gym.
Yeah, there you go. It's statistically verified.
Uh-huh. But what I thought was really sad about that was that not only just that people failed, right? And now we feel bad about ourselves, but they expected to fail too. Like there's this expectation of failure that goes along with our resolutions.
Is it expectation or is it just like a resigned acceptance that you're probably going to fail? Like we set these things and we know it's like, it's okay. I don't know how to articulate that, but I'm sorry.
What's the difference between an expectation and a resigned acceptance?
Wording, marketing, branding.
yours definitely sounded a lot better. I'll give you that.
I liked resigned acceptance. Like I will not get my pull-up this year, and that's okay. It's fine.
But that's kind of sad, right?
It is sad, but then my sister can make fun of me in a year for not getting it again. So I have to uphold tradition. I'm resigned to my fate. But I am sad for everybody who just expects. Like, I don't understand setting a resolution that you expect to fail on. That makes me think that we have created this hype culture around it in the wrong way, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, why, if you think you're going to fail, right, what causes us to do it anyways?
Yeah, like why? I got stuck.
Right? Should, right? Everybody tells us we should do it. We should, like, why not start on December 20th? Let's wait until January 1st, right? Like, it's all arbitrary.
I'm guilty of that.
Huh?
I said I'm so guilty of that. I could start making healthy choices on December 26th because there's no way I'm making a healthy choice before Christmas dinner. But I don't. I give myself those 5 extra days to just do whatever. So maybe that's also setting us up for failure.
Well, and why, if your goal is more general to make healthier decisions, right? What makes that one day of eating poorly sacrifice the rest of the days where you could eat better. Right? Like, what's that?
Right. Maybe we're not phrasing our goals correctly. Like, I mean, I intentionally chose a general
Mhm.
goal for the year so that I could have that wiggle room within it. But I'm thinking back to my past resolutions when I was like, I want to be able to do a pull up, or I want to write a book, or I want to learn a language. Like maybe those were not realistic for that year. Maybe I set myself up for failure by just reaching for the stars and not like putting an intermediary. Like I would never do that at work. Be like, all right, I'm a marketing coordinator now. I'm going to be the director by the end of the year. Like you set milestones, and I think we don't do that for resolutions.
Well, and I also think, right, if you did set a goal to learn a language or write a book or whatever else, right, what else did you do? So you may not have accomplished this thing, but did you do anything that progressed you towards the goal at some point, right? Maybe it didn't happen in that. Again, right? What's so the year is arbitrary, right? Like,
Right.
just because.
This is why I scrapped resolutions, because I was still writing. I was still practicing on my little Duolingo app. But because I hadn't achieved the end all be all, it felt like I hadn't done anything.
Yeah, so I was actually reading an article about that very thing.
Ooh, do tell.
For Christmas, it came out of Harvard, and they call that the arrival fallacy.
What is the arrival fallacy?
So when I achieve this thing, I will be happy. I can celebrate. I can feel fulfilled.
Guilty.
Yep. Right. The book being finished is the arrival fallacy, right? And a lot of
You would
people,
think.
but a lot of people who are high achievers, right? That's very much how they work. I'm going to do this. Okay, I did it. Now I'm going to do this, right? And there's no celebration of, it's just like, yep, check the box. I'm on to the next thing. What's the next thing? And so there's never any fulfillment that comes from that other than we get this fulfillment of checking the box, right? But there's no celebration or anything that goes along with it. So they actually say that humans aren't wired to celebrate happiness in that manner. We actually derive most of our happiness from progress.
Interesting. And yet we struggle to see the little progress.
Right. We don't acknowledge the little progress very often.
That makes resolutions really tough. It makes all goals really tough, honestly.
Mm-hmm. It does.
You wrote a chapter. Be happy.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a big step. That's more than a lot of people do when they say, I want to write a book, honestly.
It is huge.
I spend a lot of time on the writing subreddits, and it's a lot of just, I have an idea and it goes nowhere. So if you write a chapter, you're doing great.
Yeah.
What can we do to combat the arrival fallacy?
So I'm a big believer in intention, which is what you were talking about at the beginning, right? Like, what's the bigger reason why I'm doing something?
Okay.
What if you want to do pull-ups, right? Like, what's the reason why you want to do pull-ups, right? Like, there's a bigger reason than just being able to do the pull-up.
To quote the internet, I want to be strong like woman who fights bear in the forest.
Oh, wow.
That's what I tell my trainer every time. He's like, why are you here? I'm like, that's why.
And
Okay.
I would add, like, I would say you are. I mean, I think I know you pretty well. Strong like bear.
A woman who fights bear. I don't know if I could take on a bear, but I would be pretty comfortable if you dropped me in the forest and I had to fend for myself. I think I'm okay. I'd be okay. So yeah, maybe I reached my goal. Not that I can
What
on fighting with bears, but
what does strong mean? What does it mean to be strong?
you haven't defined that. I was defining it by the pull-up, unfortunately. That was going to tell me that I was strong.
I could look at strong as somebody who's willing to stand up for what's right and fight the status quo in the construction industry.
Hey, I feel like I've achieved that strong. I am not afraid to call out the construction industry. Check. Let's celebrate that one. And you aren't either. That's why we're both here.
Yeah. But that's, again, right? It depends on how you define it.
That's fair. I mean, I was thinking physical strength, but mental strength is important too.
Yeah.
Resilience.
At some point, none of us can do a pull up as we get older, right? Or the majority of us. Even if we could do a
No,
lot of them at some point, that eventually goes away.
I have never been able to. So I have accepted that it is just not something my body will do. I might be able to knock out like 1,000 push-ups one day, but I don't think I'll ever be able to do a pull-up. And that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah. And I think a huge part of intention is just that we're practicing all the time. Right. So
Yes.
even with my week, right, all I was doing was practicing, and 2 days it went really well, and one day it didn't go so well,
But you didn't stop,
but I didn't stop.
right?
Mhm. And that's, because I'm practicing, right? Perfection is not the goal. It's progress.
Right. Right. Failure doesn't mean stop.
And I think that's where a lot of us go wrong with our goals, right? Is once it seems like we're going to miss the goal, or, we set unrealistic goals. That's a huge problem with our goals, right? Like, I'm going to go to the gym every day. Well, if you haven't gone to the gym for 2 years, to think that we're going to go every day, right, is pretty unrealistic.
Yeah,
Not
that's a
healthy.
lot. One, it's also you have to like make time for that in your schedule. It's not even just your body adjusting to it, it's your whole life adjusting to this new lifestyle. So you're doubly setting yourself up for challenge and failure.
Yeah. Yep. And most of us just say we're going to make this happen, and there's no real planning that goes into that, or, we don't create any form of accountability for ourselves. So we get
Oh, I like
impatient.
the accountability.
We get impatient, right? Like, why am I not seeing the results?
Guilty of that one too. I am extremely impatient. That's probably why I quit by the end of January. Probably why the other 43% of the world quit by the end of January.
Yeah, and the 91% they didn't make it through the year.
I think humans are just so used to instant gratification that it's getting harder and harder for us to do kind of long-term things or to stay motivated for something that's going to take a long time because we're so used to just like being instantly gratified.
Yeah, I would agree. Um, all or nothing thinking, right? Like, I have to do it every day, or then it's not worth it. I have to eat healthy every day. I can't have a cheat day. Even The Rock has a cheat day, and look at that guy.
Everybody needs a cheat day, or it's just sad.
He just builds a cheat day into his routine, right?
Exactly. I often have multiple cheat meals throughout the week, so it probably adds up to a couple of days, but my soul is happy, and that's
Mm-hmm.
what's important, right?
Yeah. And, planning for obstacles that are going to get in our way, external stressors. How are we going to deal with that? A lot of us don't have a plan for that either. So when it happens, it's just, and I think a huge part of it is whatever we were doing last year was comfortable.
Right.
And we're now trying to get out of our comfort zone. And that's going to be hard.
I would almost argue that it wasn't comfortable because that's why you're setting your resolution, right? Like you didn't
Well,
like something about last year.
yeah, maybe not. You probably didn't like it, but it was what you knew, and it was
That's
comfortable.
fair.
So this draw when things get hard is going to be to pull you back to what you were doing
That's
before.
fair.
Yeah. So it is comfortable, even though you may not like it.
Being comfortable with your discomfort is something that I don't like that I have gotten used to. Actively
Don't like.
working on changing that.
Okay, say that again.
I so I feel like I have gotten used to being okay with my discomfort. Like, if I don't like something, I just deal with it. It's just how it is, right?
And
So
you
I'm
don't
actively
like that?
working, and I don't like that I'm like that. I don't like that I just roll with it. I'm like, all right, this sucks, but I'm gonna keep on going.
Oh, I get it. You've gotten comfortable being
I've
in.
been comfortable accepting that discomfort in my life.
Okay.
I'm having a really
That's how,
hard time explaining this.
no, I get it. I get it now.
Okay.
I thought you were saying you're being outside of your comfort zone and that's not a good thing. And I was like, no, I think that's a good thing to be
Yeah, that's
outside.
where we grow. That's a great
Uh-huh.
thing.
Uh-huh.
No, I mean like as a proposal person, all the stuff that comes up throughout your work life, like, hey, it's Monday and this thing is due on Friday. Can you get it done? And you're like, no, but I have to. It's not comfortable, it's not fun, but you just deal with it because you have to. I'm trying to not be okay with those situations anymore. Trying to not accept the uncomfortable that I have previously allowed into my life.
Yeah, and standing up to those things can create more uncomfortability, right? Because now people are gonna not be happy with you and not like you, and that can be a really uncomfortable place to be, right? Like I just want to make people happy, and now I'm not.
As a
And
yes person, it's very stressful.
what does that mean for me if people aren't happy with me?
I don't like it, but also I don't like the alternative. So I'm going to do the one that makes me happier is my new intention, I guess.
Yeah.
What else can we do to succeed?
So it may sound like I'm against goals, but I'm not. I think setting goals in support of your intention is really a good idea. So once you've defined the higher level why, now set some goals that sit underneath that.
I
Um,
would agree with that.
yeah. So like what are some things you are trying to do to be healthier this year?
I mean, I want to make better eating choices. So I'm trying to prioritize. I'm really bad at protein. I'm great at vegetables, bad at protein.
You might be
So
the
I'm
only
trying.
person who's ever said that.
I know. I don't know why I'm like this. I don't know. There's been a lot of series of events that have led to this, but I'm really bad at protein, and so I'm trying to like find good protein swaps or adds to meals that are usually very carb and veggie heavy. Um,
I was just
I
listening to a podcast and I can't remember who the actor was, but he's like somebody in their late 70s who has never eaten a veg. Oh, is Al Michaels has never eaten a vegetable in his entire life.
This is a thing. Uh, this does not surprise me. Insight into Rochelle's life, single, occasionally trying to date. You'll look at like a dating profile, and men will very proudly proclaim that they won't touch vegetables. And if you're going to try and make them, you should just keep swiping. And I'm like, absolutely. I don't want to talk to anybody who doesn't eat their vegetables.
But you
Why
and
is
Al
this like a
Michaels are not a
cultural
good
thing?
match. I would steer clear of Al Michaels then.
No worries there. We're good. How do you not eat a vegetable? I don't know.
They're not
Gotta,
my favorite, but I will eat them.
you gotta do them right. People just like boil them, and that's so boring.
Yeah.
You gotta season them.
All right, so eating more protein. What else?
And I've got like flexibility goals, and so I've started following this like she's the Serbian contortionist, and she does kind of like movement for everybody, and so I do stuff with her for following her workouts. I do go to the gym now, and I have an actual trainer because I've realized I'm no longer motivated enough to do these things at home. I need somebody yelling at me to do my cardio, or I just won't do it. So those my baby steps. Eat
Yep.
healthy, move, move a few.
Yeah, I like all of those. And right, if something were to happen during the year, like let's say you hurt a muscle or something working out, right? Like yes, you still have this goal and you can get back to the goal, but you can adjust, right? If something were to happen to something else that's healthy, that
Well,
allows
being
you to
healthy
still
is
meet that higher level intention.
exactly. It's taking care of your body, right? My why behind being healthy is that I want to take better care of my body. And so if I break something or injure something, taking care of it is taking time to rest and rehab it. So it's still built in to the be healthy thing. So that's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
What about your grind? How are you gonna, what goals are you breaking down
Yeah. I
to meet
mean,
your grind
one that I've been
intention?
doing this week is turning off my email except for 3 times a day.
That's a good one.
Mhm. Um, meditation, um, kind of that slowing things down to allow myself to grind a little bit more. Exercise is a huge part of it. Getting enough sleep. Um,
This is why I think you can handle grind because you went like the total opposite of the like hustle culture where it's just like adding more and more and more. I like that all of your goals are about giving yourself space and like the recharge time you need to do a better job. I feel like when we try to grind or hustle, we're just like reaching for every opportunity and doing as much as we can, which leads to burnout and junk work and low quality and bad things. So,
yeah, and the
hmm,
other one was prioritizing things every week that I want to try to accomplish.
I like it.
But limiting it to like 1 or 2 or 3 things over the week.
I feel like three is a lot.
It is, but again, it's maybe I get one done, maybe I get two, maybe I get none of them done, or maybe I get three. But
And
having
you're going to celebrate each one, right?
that prioritization of three helps me focus. Right. Again, I said it was all about focus, right? Focus on these three instead of focusing on everything
Right. I
and
like
trying to
it.
get everything done. So yeah, from a motivation perspective, right? There's internal motivation, there's external motivation. How do you view the two, and what do you try to use as internal motivation?
I try to remember, like, I mean, we've talked about this. What is my why? Why do I want to do this? And if I lose track of that, then I've decided to reassess. This is kind of what I did last year. Or kind of did poorly last year, but my intention last year was to, if I'm not on track and I'm not meeting that why, I would go back and say, like, has my why changed? So I don't feel like my why for being healthy and taking care of myself will change, but
What is a
always
healthy,
going
how
back to
does
that.
having a healthy body, what does that do for you? How does that empower you?
I mean, I want to be able to do cool things. Like I want to be able to travel and walk around. And, I was in New York a month ago and I walked everywhere. I didn't Uber at all, except for the airport into the city. So I walked like 12 miles a day, 15 miles a day, just wandering. Like my body needs to be able to function to do that. I like being outside and hiking and it being healthy supports the rest of my life, right? So like couch potato life is not supporting the rest of my active lifestyle. So I guess that's kind of that motivation.
Yeah, and I really like that everything you're talking about there is focused on you and how it benefits you. And it's not right like I want to lose some weight so I can find a man or date
Oh
more.
no, we gave
Right?
up on
A lot
that
of
a
us
long time
want the
ago.
intrinsic motivation though, right? Like I'm doing this because my neighbors have this, or other people look this way, and that I don't think is a very powerful motivator for most of us, right? That
Those are
extrinsic.
moving targets,
Yeah.
right? Like the keeping up with the Joneses thing, if you're trying really hard to do something to impress someone or be like someone, by the time you get there, they'll have moved on. Their tastes will have changed. They'll be buying something bigger, better, new. So I feel like it's really demotivating, but
Yeah, and
I
it
have
was also
embraced the you.
I had a friend who sent me a TikTok right before Christmas too, and I was in this state where these things were really resonating with me. And the TikTok was, "How do you end up living on an island in Nicaragua or something like that?" And it
Oh,
was this older guy who was retired and moved down there, and he was talking about how, you know, the American dream is kind of this fallacy, right? Of like, I'm going to work really hard, I'm going to be able to buy these things. These things are going to make me happy. I
right.
realized after I buy these things that they haven't really made me happy. So I work really hard, or work much harder to try to buy bigger things and better things that will make me happy. And you eventually realize that all that's BS. And now what's really important to me is connection with people and living a simple life. And that's how you end up living on an island in Nicaragua.
This is my dream. It's
So
my little slice of simple life in Costa Rica, but that's neither here nor there.
yeah, but I mean that's more intrinsic motivating than it is all the stuff that we could buy or
Right.
the way we could look or self-compassion's huge as we try to change things. How do we
Yes.
give ourselves a break, realize that we're human, we're going to make mistakes, we're going to mess up. It may not be what we wanted, right? We may have to pivot. um,
We had a big conversation about grace over in the proposal industry experts community coming back into the year, and people like, you're getting your bearings again. You're almost trying to remember who you are and what you were doing and how to do your job, and yet you have all of these demands on your time. And so we had this really good discussion about giving yourself grace to take the time that you need to figure out what you have to do, what's the glass ball that's in the air that if you drop it's going to shatter, what's rubber, if you drop it you can pick it up next week.
yeah,
And just being kind to yourself as you figure things out, because everybody else is also figuring things out. And I think you can do that with your resolutions too, right? Like, they're not glass balls, they're rubber. You drop them, you can pick them right back up and throw them back in the air.
yeah, I agree. Every time I say the word pivot, it makes me think of Friends now.
Pivot. Iconic.
Maintaining flexibility is huge, right? Things are going to happen. We don't know what's going to happen in the world in this year and how that could impact what we're chasing or what we're pursuing. Or I think I've talked about my goal of running a marathon a couple years ago when in 2020, when COVID happened, there were no marathons to run. So I didn't have any control over that.
Or you could have run it solo.
I could have. That sounds not very fun.
That sounds terrible.
And then, enjoying your progress, right? We talked about that.
Right.
Progress, not perfection.
When you hit one of your three goals for the week, you're going to celebrate each one, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
There you go.
Or only one, maybe. Who knows? I'm not in control of what happens every week either.
No. And that's okay.
My day job likes to throw lots of crazy deadlines and expectations at me. So
So does mine. It's okay. We can do it.
we can. So what do you think? Is that a good start for the year?
I think that's a good start for the year. To sum up, we are advocating for intentions rather than unrealistic goals. We want you to have well thought out plans with intrinsic motivation, meaning your focus is something on you and not driven by something external. We want to make sure that you are practicing compassion and being kind to yourself, and just recognizing that we can't plan for the unplanned, but we can pivot and we can celebrate doing so.
Yeah.
I think we're good.
Okay.
And now it's time for burning questions.
It's time for burning questions. So we did get a question about New Year's resolutions, goals, but it related more around how to manage other people and their impact that it has on your pursuit of your resolutions or goals or whatever you want to call them. So
The unplanned. Okay.
the unplanned, right? Planning for the unplanned. And other people's resolutions and goals and plans may not necessarily align with your resolutions, goals, and plans. So how do we deal with that?
That's true. All right. So what's the question?
What do you suggest to help us manage other people and the impact they have on our abilities to achieve our goals?
Aha. I feel like we also talk about this a lot, but we are not responsible for other people and what they do or what they think or what they say. And so we have to figure out how to navigate our life and our goals without allowing them to impact or frustrate us. And if they are actively impacting or frustrating us, like we have to have a conversation, right?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say is communicate. Communicate.
No, why would I do that, Jeff? I'm a professional communicator. I don't need to do that. But yeah, I'm thinking about, marketing teams out there setting their goals for the year, their targets for the year, their budgets for the year. And I'm imagining our technical staff are going to frustrate these throughout the year. It's a annual struggle. It's a regular struggle. And I think it's the only thing you can do is just talk to them about why these benchmarks are important, why these goals are important, what their role is in meeting them, because the technical staff are not off the hook for marketing goals. They are still responsible for proposals won, proposals written, proposals developed, proposals, RFPs received, client relations. So they need to understand what their buy-in is to your goal. And if you can get them to buy into your goal and share it, they're not going to frustrate you as much.
Right. No, that's a great point. Getting buy-in. And I think we set goals for ourselves, and whether we share those with other people or not, right? We tend to have this expectation that we're just going to be able to, that we're all going to be on the same page, or that people are going to support us in pursuit of our goals. And I think it's huge to say, if I'm going to say no to something that I would usually say yes to, I say, I'm going to say no, and this is why I'm going to say no, or this is how. This is what I'm working on. So how can we achieve both things? That's going to go a long way towards hopefully helping us stay on track. And they may not agree at all, right? And so now we're confronted with a choice. But
Exactly. I think if you haven't listened to our episode with Jen McGovern on how to say no, now's a really good time to refresh on the different ways that you can say no without actually saying no, so that you can keep moving forward without creating ill will between you or someone else.
Yeah. And that's hard, right? I struggle with that all the time because I want to say no because I'm standing up for my boundaries, but then I upset other people and it gets me in trouble.
Recovering yes person.
I know why I'm doing it, but they have no idea why I'm doing it, and they just think I'm being difficult.
Exactly.
So I think communication is the biggest thing. And
always key, always the answer. Absolutely.
Yeah, and even some curiosity too, right? Like, what are you working on? How can I support that?
Yes.
Now that I know what Rochelle's goals are for the year, when we get together to speak at conferences, I'm going to try to find healthier places for us to eat.
I've got the vegetables down, Jeff. You just have to make sure there's a protein on my plate. I'm going to hold you to your weekly. What have you done this week? What are you grinding? Did you meditate on the plane?
So we can all support each other too. The more curious we are about what each other's trying to accomplish, and
yeah, mutual accountability. I don't know if it has to be mutual, but accountability.
Right? It's important.
It's helpful. Yeah. You're more likely to accomplish your goals. I don't know what the statistic on that is, but you are more likely to accomplish your goals if you have someone holding you accountable. So,
Yeah. And not rigidly accountable, but flexibly accountable.
yeah, just someone to check in with you,
Yeah.
see how things are going, remind you, nudge, nudge, that you have a goal. Perfect.
Yeah. All right. Well,
Any other-
it's good to be back for season 2. A friendly reminder to our listeners, if you have a burning question, you can email it to us at burnoutbanter@gmail.com. We love seeing your burning questions. Please remember to like or subscribe to the podcast on Amazon, Spotify, Apple, YouTube, or wherever you listen to make sure you never miss an episode.
Those of our listeners who are SMPS members and are getting ready for conference season, Jeff and I will be at the Southern Regional Conference in Austin, January 31st through February 2nd. We're presenting Say No More to Proposal Burnout on Friday the 2nd. We would love to see you there. If not, we're going to be floating around Austin. So if you're in the area, you can look us up. Let us know.
Aren't we also presenting for the SMPS Atlanta chapter? That's
We
sometime.
are. We are. We have a proposal burnout webinar, No Stress in 2024, with the Atlanta chapter that is open to members and non-members. You can still register, I believe. So head out to the SMPS Atlanta chapter website. You can just Google SMPS Atlanta, and we'll see you there.
That's January 18th, right?
January 18th.
At noon Eastern.
Yes.
We'll see you next month.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.